Mateta's basically dinked it over Raya. And I feel like there were two issues here. Firstly, Saliba obviously passed the ball to Mateta when I don't know how, the weight of pass was just wrong, completely wrong. And then Raya was so far away, so far off his line. Welcome back to the Arsenal Humans podcast with me, Luce. I hope you're all good. This week, it's been a mixed week. We've won one game, we've lost one game, and we've drawn a game. So there's a lot to unpack. Actually, a bit of a disclaimer at the start of the episode, which is pretty poor from me this week. I'm going to hold my hands up. I haven't actually done a warm-up poll. I sort of left it quite late because right now the only question on my mind is, are we going to win the Champions League? Are we going to win the men's or women's Champions League? That's the only questions that are in my head. Because we've pretty much secured second in both leagues, touch wood, we stay in that. So I feel like the league is kind of, it's there, it's sitting, whereas that's the only question, and I've already done that question quite a bit recently, and I just left it last minute basically. So that is my excuse for not doing a warm-up poll. So we're basically just going to get straight into the episode. It's going to be a slightly shorter one because we don't have that warm-up poll, but for next week I definitely will be back on it and hopefully have a more niche one because we'll know whether we're through to the final of the Women's Champions League, which is actually crazy to say that's even a possibility, but let's hope so, fingers crossed. But anyways, thank you for tuning into this, and we're going to get straight into those games. There's 3 games that we've played, 1 win, 1 loss and 1 draw. Let's go. Okay, so there were 3 games, as I said at the start. The first game, we're going to start with the loss, sadly, because chronologically that was the first game that happened. It happened on Saturday. It was Arsenal 1, Lyon 2, and it was at the Emirates, the first leg of the semi-final of the Women's Champions League. And yeah, I don't really know where to start. I feel like I'm not going into this game. I obviously was thinking with my heart and I thought, yeah, we could do it, but there's no way you can underestimate this Lyon side. They have such great transition all the way from the goalkeeper to defence to midfield to the attacking players, especially Diani and Demone. They were the 2 that for me stood out, especially in this game. So they're 2 that I'm a bit scared to play against in the next leg. But going into this game, I was feeling fairly confident. But then coming out of it, I'm actually, for some reason, even though we lost, I'm actually still feeling very hopeful. I think it might be to do with the fact that Chelsea lost 4-1, so Chelsea are pretty much out. I mean, you never know. Chelsea are a winning side. They're unbeaten in the UWCL this season, so they really could do something and just pull it out the bag, but they've got to do something pretty amazing. Whereas for us, there's still that hope. But focusing on the game itself, I feel like, yeah, as I said, the atmosphere was really good at the game. There was about 40,000 people. I went with my friend Jamie and we somehow managed to get tickets like on the bottom tier, pretty much central of the pitch. So we saw the whole game going on and it was very back and forth. I felt like we showed that we wanted it in certain moments. The only worrying thing is our goal did come from a set piece, which obviously was the penalty that Mariana Caldente scored, which was kind of confusing that Kim Little didn't step up to do it, but I feel like you can see that she's slowly making her exit from Arsenal, if that makes sense. Which is really sad to think about, like when that day comes. Honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself because Kim Little is like my favourite player right now. I feel like her and Wimbenware I love them. I feel like I like a lot of the players, but I feel like especially Kim Little, she stands out for me. And in this game, actually, she did stand out as well. I mean, no matter what happens, Kim Little needs to lift that Champions League trophy. I mean, if you just look at what she did on the pitch, you can tell that she wants it. You can tell that she's got that experience. I mean, she's so physical. I think in the midfield, they were very good at dominating it and dragging out the likes of Beth Mead. They dragged out Caldente, so then they sort of were the only ones with the ball in the centre, and it meant that Kim Little was having multiple players coming at her when she was on the ball, or multiple players to try and get the ball off. And I feel like her win-back ratio, she was stealing the ball off the players so often, that she is literally someone that we need. So I'm very happy we've still got her. I do think in terms of weakness, Lyon was so good at exploiting our defence and our keeper, because obviously we had Zinsberger in for Daphne Van Domselaar, who's out injured, and I'm hoping she's back for the second leg. Not looking too likely though. But Zinsberger is a good keeper. I think she definitely is getting way too much hate, but she is not the keeper we need right now. We need Daphne Van Domselaar. So it's hard. It's a tricky one. I feel like our defence as well is a unit that's not kind of used to playing together, because we've got Steph Catley in the centre-back role because our centre-backs are out injured, and obviously she's used to being out on the wing, so then she's kind of going into those spaces more, so not as defensive. And then obviously Leah Williamson is the other centre-back in that partnership, but she's used to being able to drive forwards because she will have the likes of, if she's playing for England, Millie Bright would be behind her. If she's playing for Arsenal, Ruben Moy would be behind her, or whoever else is in that centre-back role. So I feel like there was so many times where they were able to push the ball over. Obviously, there was that offside, and it was offside because of Emily Fox's hand. I don't understand this, because what's her hand going to do? Her hand's not going to be able to get the ball, if that makes sense, because it's football, it's not the handball. Like, it just, yeah, it sort of baffles me. Obviously, VAR was something slightly different, because normally when we're at the Emirates, we're watching the UWCL, and yeah, it was just kind of interesting to see how people reacted to it. I mean, it was the same as the men. Some people love it, some people hate it. Either way, no matter whether you love or hate it, it stops the flow of the game. But it can make a good decision, and it did when obviously it called back play, because Leah Williamson basically got punched in the head, and then she didn't even, like, the Leon keeper didn't even take the ball. So then we obviously got the penalty that Marina Caldente scored. But yeah, I'm just looking at my notes here. I feel like I made a lot of them. And I also spoke on both the Diamond Show about this, which is the one I do, the Blue Podcast Network, and I also spoke on Haters about this earlier on the week. So I feel like I've spoken about this game a lot. But to summarise, I do feel like, obviously I'll chat about the second leg and what we can do to improve. But yeah, I do feel like it went a lot better than I thought, considering the calibre. And I mean, you look at Lyon, they are literally the Real Madrid of the Women's Champions League, if that makes sense. They've got the history, they've won it the most times. But obviously we can't fault ourselves too much. We did do well. They do just have some very great players. Diani is one that I'm going to highlight in particular. Her first touch is second to none. It is crazy. She literally would collect the ball, receive the ball from whatever player from the midfield spaces, out on the wing. She'd either then turn and literally walk through like 3 of our players, or she'd cut it back. Like, no matter what, she wasn't losing that ball. And that's scary, because we can't have these players that are so clinical and so confident on the ball taking advantage of us when we're weaker in certain areas. So, you know, we'll see. But obviously I'll get into the predictions in a bit. Then focusing on the other games that we have to get through. Ipswich 4, Arsenal 0. This was a good game. I did predict it to be 3-0, so it actually wasn't that far off. Trossard found the score sheet twice. He obviously got his first one, which was a nice little tap in. It kind of just rolled past the keeper though. His second one was a nice pass from Rice, and then he basically like nuts the defender to get it in. So it's really good to see players that you don't normally see playing, like starting, get on the score sheet, and to do it twice is good as well, to prove that to Arteta that he still deserves a place in that squad. The second goal was probably my favourite goal of the game. Saka was basically running down the channel. He passed it into the box. Marino did a little back heel flick into Martinelli, who powered it home. And that basically secured us the win. But then the final goal, Ethan Waneri, basically his goal took a massive deflection. So I feel like he didn't even really celebrate probably, because he's kind of like, well, that wasn't really my goal. It was his goal. We're going to say it was his goal anyways. And he, found the net to basically give us the win. It was a dominating performance. I feel like the focus for Arsenal is so much on the Champions League right now, though. Both the men and women, to be honest, but obviously focus on the men now. So they're not really too bothered about the Premier League. I mean, we can't get too complacent, because if it doesn't work out in the Champions League, we don't want to be dropping down the Premier League, if you get what I'm saying. We don't want to be dropping down the table. So it was good that we managed to show Ipswich, who, in the nicest way possible, we should be beating them. So this wasn't a game that I was like shocked that we did it, but it was good that it wasn't just a 1 or 2-0, it was a 4-0. Like, we're still trying our best here. The second game for the men's this week, which is the last game overall, was Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2. It's annoying, but I can't even be that mad, because firstly I did predict it to be a draw. I didn't say the exact score, but I just knew that we'd probably get a bit complacent. It'll be a game that we don't really care about as much. I mean, Liverpool have basically won the league already if they get 1 point at the weekend. So it wasn't really something that I was too mad about. I mean, Palace did deserve that point. Their goals were crazy. Saliba, I don't know what, for Mateta's goal, which was the one that equalised, obviously, the 2-2, I don't know what Saliba was doing. He basically passed it to Mateta. Mateta's touch, not to take it away from him at all though, because Mateta's basically dinked it over Raya. And I feel like there were 2 issues here. Firstly, Saliba obviously passed the ball to Mateta when, I don't know how, the weight of pass was just wrong, completely wrong. And then Raya was so far away, so far off his line, that I don't know if he's because he sometimes tries to act as a defender, like an extra defender, and then he gets back in the net. But he was so far off that perfect dink. I mean, it's good that Mateta took advantage because it gave Palace that equaliser, which obviously gave them a point. And I feel like every point is crucial in the Premier League. It's annoying that we obviously lost the 3 points that we could have got, but obviously at least we did get 1 point. So overall, I feel like not too much of a bad week. We're still in second in the Premier League, and obviously we're only 1 point behind Lyon in heading into the second leg of the semi-finals. So yeah, let's get into that now. Okay, so we have reached the prediction section of this episode, and we have 3 games again. I feel like this is a really busy time of the year. We've got quite a few games to get through, but we have Lyon Arsenal, which for me is actually... No, we have 2 really big games this week, 2 Champions League fixtures this week. So yeah, the first one is Lyon Arsenal, which is on Sunday. It's at 5 p.m. this UK time. I'm going to predict a 3-1 win, which would mean that we'd get through to the final of the Champions League. And I'm hoping that happens. I do kind of see it going to extra time. I think obviously what I was saying before, we need to tighten up in defence. We need to not be as risky pushing up the pitch because we need to have that solid line in front of Zinsberger, and I feel like it's going to be Zinsberger again, so I feel like we definitely need to work on that. I just want to see Kim Little lifting the trophy, so anything we can do to get her there lifting that trophy would be amazing. It would be great for us to just lift it in general, but Lyon are such a good side, we can't underestimate them. Also, it is rumoured that Wendy Renard will be making her 500th appearance for Lyon on Sunday. I mean, she was kind of meant to make it last week, but it didn't end up happening, but she was on the bench and she's back in training, so yeah, it's not looking too good because I feel like aerially she is so good in defence, and I also do feel like that's why Arsenal last weekend in the first leg we didn't make as many crosses in until Chloe Kelly came on the pitch. We didn't make as many high crosses in, and I feel like that's because we were prepared for a really tall defender. This time maybe that is the case if she is playing, so we'll just have to see how that one works. But I'm going to be optimistic and say that we will get through because if anything, it's just me trying to manifest this. The second game, which is also such an exciting game, which sort of sets the tone for the Men's Champions League semi-final, is Arsenal versus PSG. This will be happening on Tuesday at the Emirates. I'm going to predict a 2-1 win. I do feel like PSG, I mean, weirdly, since Mbappe has left, PSG have got even better, and obviously Real Madrid didn't really work out because I feel like Real Madrid are a bunch of individuals, really, really good players, obviously, but they're mostly individuals, whereas I do feel like PSG do have a lot of team dynamic, a lot of team solidarity, which, you know what, I think is reflective of Arsenal as well. I do feel like this is a tight game. The only reason I'm going to say that Arsenal will win is because of that home advantage, the crowd, and also we're coming back from a couple of good games in the Premier League, and also we're just running on momentum, I feel like, and there's a lot riding on this, but I do feel like Arsenal can do it, but it is going to be a tight one, and obviously it will set the tone going into the away fixture, which is the second leg, which is what both the men and women have for this semi-final. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not keen, so I do know how I don't know why I don't know how I feel about it. No, I do know how I feel about it. I'm not too keen on that because you almost want it to be home the second leg, like we had that for obviously the women's quarterfinals against Real Madrid, because you're familiar with it and the crowd can really get behind you. But hopefully they do it and we come out 2-1. And then the final game, which is the day after on Wednesday, is Aston Villa versus Arsenal in the UWCL. I'm going to go with a 4-1 win. I know this is kind of quite a high score, and we can't underestimate Aston Villa because, I mean, Kirsty Hansen, if you've seen what she's done recently, Aston Villa looked like they were basically a relegating side, and now they're getting wins and they're getting those crucial points that they need, that we pretty much know Crystal Palace are going down into the Championship. But it is just so good to see Aston Villa doing well. I mean, yeah, we can't underestimate them, but I do just feel like this is the momentum, depending on what happens on Sunday against Lyon, obviously might determine, but we've pretty much secured second spot. We just need to make sure we don't get complacent. I don't want to be seeing a draw. I want to be seeing a win for this game because we need that, because there is a difference between coming second and third in the WSL, because obviously there's a month extra European football if you come third, if you come second, that can really affect you, because obviously we did see Arsenal a few seasons back didn't even get past that first part because they were trying to balance WSL with FA Cup, with so many different competitions going on, whereas this would be good for us to stay in second. So I'm hoping both the men and women can stay in second. But yeah, this is an exciting week coming up, and I'm basically predicting 3 wins. So classic me, classic Arsenal delusional fan, basically.